Most women spend years asking the wrong question. What can I do to be wanted? But the truth is, the most powerful shift happens when the question becomes, who am I becoming when I no longer need to be chosen? Have you ever wondered why certain women seem to age into a power that turns heads without effort, that makes silence magnetic, that makes presence feel like gravity? This kind of allure is not born from youth. It is carved by self-knowledge. She becomes irresistible, not because she is desired, but because she has transcended the need to be. In a world that teaches women to be pleasing, to be polished, to be palatable, the woman who dares to be fully formed becomes a disruption. She is not interested in pleasing. She is interested in being. She has met her shadows, named them, held them, and refused to exile the parts of her soul that once made her feel too much. This is not a woman who needs attention to feel alive. Her aliveness comes from her depth, her emotional clarity, her sovereign presence. These women are not born. They are forged. Forged by betrayal, by silence, by every room where they were told to shrink. They are born in the aftermath of breakdowns that burned the performance away. In its place, a truer self emerged. Rough, radiant, non-negotiable, Carl Jung would say, she has individuated. She is no longer a persona in search of applause. She is a soul in alignment with truth. And that kind of woman, she is unforgettable. Let us begin to reveal the 6 habits that do not just make her attractive, they make her unforgettable, untouchable, and entirely herself. These are not tactics. These are traits of a woman who has reclaimed her wholeness. The woman who does not beg, prove, or perform. The woman who stands inside her own energy and lets others adjust. The woman who does not lower her frequency to be accessible. She simply rises. Habit 1. She practices radical emotional responsibility. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman who owns her inner world. She does not blame others for her triggers. She observes them. She does not collapse into wounds for sympathy. She uses them as mirrors to grow. Her power begins in the way she pauses before reacting, in the way she refuses to let emotional chaos dictate her responses. She is not stoic because she is numb. She is stoic because she has faced her storms and made peace with them. This habit is not softness in the traditional sense. It is precision. She understands projection. She watches the ego try to defend, attack, and contort, and she lovingly calls it back. She does not lash out in defense. She leans into awareness. Her emotional maturity isn't about suppressing feeling. It's about channeling it. She feels everything, but she bleeds on no one. She knows that love without responsibility is manipulation, and so she holds herself accountable, not in shame, but in sacred power. She does not need someone else to regulate her. She has become her own container. This woman is not intimidating because she is cold. She is intimidating because she is clear. And clarity is rare in a world fueled by projection. Her presence disarms those who expect drama. She doesn't compete with chaos. She outgrows it. She doesn't escalate. She evaporates from anything beneath her evolution. People mistake this as arrogance. But it is great. She has learned that she is not responsible for managing other people's comfort at the expense of her peace. She is no longer available for emotional enmeshment, dressed as love. And yet, her emotional responsibility is not armor. It's sacred architecture. Her heart is open, but it has gates. Her empathy is vast, but it has edges. She loves from a place of sovereignty, not sacrifice. When she gives purely. When she retreats, she does so with integrity. This is not detachment from feeling. It's devotion to alignment. She does not call herself healed. She calls herself conscious. She knows healing is not a destination, but a daily practice. When jealousy arises, she meets it with honesty. When sadness returns, she welcomes it like an old friend. She no longer resists what she feels. She alchemizes it. Her tears are not weakness. They are sacred rites of passage. People wonder how she became this way. They don't see the years she spent being reactive, apologetic, and emotionally displaced. They only see the woman who now speaks in calm truths, who does not chase closure, who does not explain her boundaries. What they are seeing is the quiet elegance of a woman who has become emotionally sovereign, a fortress and a fountain in one. This is the woman who, when chaos knocks, does not open the door. She lights a candle, sits in silence, and listens inward, because she knows that every storm outside is a call to stillness inside. Her wisdom is not theoretical, it is earned. She does not preach peace, she embodies it. She does not teach control, she teaches presence. It is this very presence that makes her irresistible. It is the way her energy speaks louder than her words. It is the way her stillness calms the noise. People don't know why they feel drawn to her. They only know they feel safe, seen, and stirred. That is the effect of a woman who has claimed her emotional landscape and refuses to hand it over again. So when she speaks, people listen. Not because her voice is loud, but because her energy is anchored. When she says no, it's not punishment, it's protection. When she says yes, it's not obligation, it's overflow. Every word she speaks is chosen, not scattered. Every gesture is rooted, not rushed. That is what makes her unforgettable. To develop this habit is not to become invulnerable. It is to become deeply self-aware. It is to stop outsourcing emotional responsibility and begin embodying emotional intelligence. It is to stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "What inside me allowed this?" This shift is the beginning of freedom. And in that freedom, a woman rises. She rises not in resistance, but in truth. Not in control, but in clarity. And that rising, it is silent, but it echoes everywhere she goes. Habit 2. She embodies selective presence. The irresistible woman has learned that not every stage deserves her performance. Not every room her energy. Not every person her time. She no longer moves out of fear of missing out. She moves out of alignment. Her presence is not a default. It is a decision, and that decision is made with reverence. This woman no longer scatters herself for the illusion of belonging. She is home within. Selective presence is not cruelty. It is clarity. It is knowing the value of your time, your presence, your emotional labor. It is refusing to offer the sacred to the careless. It is understanding that just because someone wants access to you does not mean they've earned it. The woman who practices this habit holds space for herself before others, not selfishly, but wisely. There is a myth that to be kind, one must be endlessly available. But the mature woman knows better. She has learned that unguarded generosity becomes self-betrayal. So she chooses when and where she gives her essence. She does not do this to manipulate. She does this to maintain integrity. Her yes means something, because her no is practiced. People feel her absence more than others' presence. Not because she withholds, but because she gives so fully when she's truly there. She listens with her eyes. She speaks with her energy. She offers more in silence than others offer in performance. And this kind of attentiveness cannot be sustained everywhere. So, she chooses where to pour and where to protect. She knows that presence is a currency. That every moment spent in misaligned company is a withdrawal from her own spirit. So she spends her time like treasure, not in fear, but in wisdom. She has grieved over friendships she outgrew. She has mourned spaces that no longer felt safe. And in that mourning she made a vow, never again to abandon herself in the name of connection. Selective presence also means she's not available to emotional chaos. She will not be baited into dysfunction. She will not sit at tables where gossip is the main course. Her conversations are rooted in truth, in evolution, in depth. People who traffic in drama find her boring, but those who are healing find her magnetic. She does not explain her silence. She does not over-apologize for her absence. She trusts that the ones meant for her will understand. She has outgrown the need to be constantly understood. She now values being true more than being relatable, and in doing so, she radiates a frequency that only the aligned can hear. This habit confuses the insecure. They believe her absence is rejection. But the mature woman is not punishing them. She is protecting her peace. She knows the cost of overstaying in misaligned energy. She has lived the fatigue of pretending. So now, she simply exits what doesn't nourish her soul. And in her exit, she leaves a space no one else can fill. Because her presence, when it is given, is total. When she smiles, it is not polite, it is felt. When she offers her attention, it is not scattered, it is complete. To be in her presence is to feel witnessed, not watched. It is to feel honored, not tolerated. She knows that energy is sacred, that who she shares a meal with, a conversation with, a vulnerability with, these are not casual acts. These are spiritual agreements. And so she enters them carefully, not with fear, but with discernment, because she no longer uses connection to feel worthy. She connects because she already is. This woman walks away without flinching. She disengages without drama. She does not need to defend her boundaries to people who benefit from crossing them. Her selective presence is not a wall. It is a filter. Those who respect it remain. Those who don't remove themselves. And so, people learn. They learn that her presence is a privilege, that her time is a gift, that her energy is not to be consumed. It is to be cherished. The ones who see this become better in her orbit, not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. To master this habit is to stop proving your worth by staying too long. It is to reclaim your right to be rare, and in doing so, to become unforgettable. Habit 3. She honors her boundaries like sacred ground. A mature woman does not set boundaries to control others. She sets them to remain in relationship with herself. Her boundaries are not walls of bitterness. They are gates of discernment. She knows the difference between being loving and being used, between being kind and being complicit. She has learned that the heart without a boundary becomes a bleeding ground for manipulation. And so she guards her space not out of fear but out of self-respect. The irresistible woman no longer fears who will leave if she speaks her truth. She fears what she will lose within if she stays silent. She has watched herself disappear before, dissolve into roles, into silence, into tolerance, and she has resurrected. Her boundaries are the resurrection lines where she came back to herself. She no longer tolerates what drains her, not because she is angry, but because she is awake. She knows that every time she says yes, when her soul says no, she fractures. So she listens deeply now. She listens to her fatigue, to the tightness in her chest, to the body that used to beg her to stop but was ignored in the name of being liked. Now her body is her compass. Her no is holy. Her pause is prayer. Others may call her difficult, but that is the language of those who benefited from her self-abandonment. She is not difficult. She is discerning. She does not owe ease to those who brought her pain. She does not owe explanation to those who demanded pieces of her without offering safety in return. Her boundaries are not obstacles. They are invitations to meet her in truth. This woman does not scream her lines. She does not need to. Her calm is final. Her clarity is unshakable. She has removed herself from cycles that felt like home because she realized they were only familiar, not safe. She has walked away from love that lacked respect, from family that disrespected her silence, from friendships that survived only on her silence. She has paid the price of peace, and it was worth it. Her boundaries are not one-time declarations. They are daily practices. They are the refusal to respond to messages that feel manipulative. They are the courage to walk away from conversations that distort her clarity. They are the soft smile she gives when someone tries to bait her into old dynamics, and her sacred absence when the energy repeats. She does not expect others to agree with her limits. That is not their job. Her only task is to stay faithful to her own soul. She no longer teaches people how to treat her with words. She teaches them by what she allows. And what she no longer allows, she does not argue about. She simply leaves. This habit, more than any, shifts the frequency of her life. Because once she sets a boundary, the right people begin to gather. The ones who don't drain. The ones who don't need her to shrink. The ones who see her limits as strength, not rejection. This woman is not alone because she has boundaries. She is deeply connected because her boundaries filtered out the false. She holds space for others, yes, but she does not carry what is not hers. She no longer performs emotional labor for people committed to their dysfunction. She sees pain, but she will not rescue where there is no responsibility. She offers compassion, but never at the expense of her own capacity. To the unhealed, her boundaries may feel like punishment. To the healed, they feel like peace. And peace is the currency she now values above all else. She no longer breaks herself to be loved. She allows herself to be misunderstood because she has chosen to understand herself more than she needs validation from others. Her life becomes a sanctuary, not because it is quiet, but because it is protected. She wakes up with ease. She moves with integrity. She rests without guilt. Her days are no longer haunted by resentment, because she has learned how to say, "This is not mine to carry." And so, the mature woman walks through the world with fewer attachments, but deeper connections. She needs less, but feels more. She gives less, but it means more, because what she offers now comes from overflow, not depletion. And the ones who receive it, they never forget her. To honor boundaries is to come home to yourself. To draw a line, not against others, but for your soul. And the woman who lives inside that line becomes radiant with something no beauty can replace. Habit 4. She cultivates inner stillness and deep thought. There is something undeniably alluring about a woman who has slowed down her thoughts. In a world addicted to urgency, her calm becomes captivating. While others rush to respond, to prove, to defend, she pauses. Her silence is not empty. It is deliberate. It is filled with the quiet gravity of someone who does not fear the stillness. In fact, she lives there. And that stillness, it teaches her everything. The mature woman knows that not every impulse deserves a reaction, that most of what people say has nothing to do with her, but everything to do with their inner landscape. She listens not to respond, but to understand. She no longer speaks to be heard. She speaks when it is necessary. Her restraint is not suppression. It is wisdom. And in that restraint, she holds immense power. Her inner world is not chaotic. It is curated. She does not allow every noise to enter. She chooses what she consumes, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. She understands that her mind is sacred territory, and so she tends to it like a garden. Weeds are pulled. Stillness is watered. Reflection is welcomed. This inner order is not accidental. It is discipline. And that discipline makes her presence magnetic. She has trained her thoughts to observe rather than attach. When judgment arises, she watches. When jealousy creeps in, she leans into it, not to shame herself, but to understand. She is not afraid of her mind. She is intimate with it, and that intimacy creates an energy of self-possession that is rare in a distracted world. People sense it. They feel safe around it. They crave it. Stillness is not passivity. It is depth. And depth is rare. She does not need to fill silence with chatter. She does not need to narrate every moment of discomfort. She holds tension like an artist holds clay, knowing that it will shape something beautiful. She does not flee from discomfort, she studies it, and that courage makes her unforgettable. This woman's thoughts are not reactive, they are reflective. She asks herself questions others avoid. Why did that comment sting? What part of me still believes I must earn love? Where am I still abandoning myself to belong? She does not fear the answers, she honors them, because she knows that the answers she avoids will become the patterns she repeats. Her solitude is not loneliness. It is alignment. She cherishes mornings alone, evenings in thought, hours spent in nature or in a book. She is not hiding, she is tuning herself. And in that tuning, she becomes more precise, more intuitive, more whole. Others try to distract themselves from their own minds. She, instead, befriends her, and in this cultivated interior, she gains something few others possess: clarity. She sees people for who they are, not who she needs them to be. She sees herself without delusion, and that vision shapes her decisions. She no longer moves out of fear. She moves out of knowing. Her yes is clear. Her no is anchored. Her path is not reactive, it is chosen. This clarity makes her radiant, not in a way that screams, but in a way that draws. People feel seen in her presence. Not because she is looking outward, but because she has looked inward so long that she can see what others fear to admit. Her perception becomes her gift, not to judge, but to understand, not to fix, but to witness. She does not flood her days with noise. Her phone does not rule her. Her feed does not own her focus. She reads, she reflects, she breathes. Her rhythm is slower, but her results are deeper. She achieves more with less energy, because her actions are aligned. She does not hustle for approval, she moves with intention. Even in conflict, she remains grounded. Her calm disarms chaos. Her patience diffuses provocation. She is not trying to win, she is trying to understand. And in that pursuit of understanding, she often finds what others miss: the real cause, the real pain, the real truth beneath the noise. This woman does not need to be entertained. She is already full. Her mind is a sanctuary. Her heart is a sanctuary. Her body is a sanctuary. She does not seek others to fill her. She seeks others to expand with. And in that distinction lies her power. She is not a void, she is a vessel. To cultivate inner stillness is to become unshakable. It is to quiet the noise long enough to hear your soul. And when a woman moves from that place, she doesn't just become irresistible. She becomes unforgettable. Habit 5. She lives with unapologetic integrity. Integrity is not a trait she talks about. It is the foundation she walks on. A mature woman knows that her alignment is more important than approval. She no longer edits herself to be more palatable, more accepted, more liked. She tells the truth, not to be harsh, but to be whole. Her words may not always comfort, but they never deceive. And that consistency, that clarity, it makes her unforgettable. She does not live by convenience. She lives by conscience. When no one is watching, she is the same. Her character is not a performance. It is a practice. She has lost people because she wouldn't lie. She has lost opportunities because she wouldn't bend. But what she has gained is far more rare: self-respect. And that self-respect becomes the glow people cannot place but cannot ignore. Her decisions are not impulsive. They are principled. She has a compass, and it does not spin for validation. She chooses based on values, not emotions. Not because she lacks emotion, but because she has trained her feelings to follow her standards, not sabotage them. She does not let desire override her discernment. She waits. She watches. She chooses slowly. And in that slowness, she becomes powerful. The woman of integrity no longer explains herself to those committed to misunderstanding her. She knows that when truth threatens illusion, people resist, and she lets them. She does not chase understanding. She holds her stance, even when it costs her comfort, even when it breaks connection, because peace built on pretense is not peace, and she refuses to live a life that is not hers. Her integrity is not rigid. It is alive. It listens, evolves, sharpens. But it does not betray itself. When she makes a mistake, she owns it. She does not deflect or deny. She corrects, she apologizes with full awareness. And that humility, combined with strength, creates a frequency that silences the room. She does not gossip. She does not fake kindness. She does not flatter to gain favor. Her compliments are rare. But when they come, they are real. She will not smile at someone she does not trust. She will not entertain energy that dishonors her value. And because of this, people either feel deeply safe with her or quietly repelled. This woman knows her name means something. She signs it only where she means it. She commits only where her soul is present. Her promises are few, but they are sacred. Her boundaries are not rules. They are reflections of her integrity, and they are non-negotiable, because she has negotiated herself enough in the past. People feel her truth before she speaks it. They sense that she cannot be bought, that she will not stay where deceit thrives, that she will not look the other way to keep peace that is built on betrayal. And so, she becomes a mirror, one that reflects the places in others where truth has been abandoned. She walks away without cruelty. She detaches without bitterness. But when something violates her spirit, she leaves fully. She does not ghost. She does not play. She simply exits with elegance. And that kind of exit leaves a mark, because it teaches others what self-respect looks like in motion. This woman does not try to be perfect. She tries to be honest. She does not aim to please. She aims to stay rooted. She does not ask, "What do they want me to be?" She asks, "What does my soul require to remain whole?" And that question guides her like scripture, like sacred law. She is not for everyone, and that no longer frightens her. She does not dilute herself to be digestible. She does not soften her voice to make others feel taller. Her strength does not roar, it radiates. And that quiet radiance, born of deep integrity, is a presence few forget. This kind of integrity can't be taught in words. It must be lived. It must be chosen. Again and again, in the small moments no one sees. And when it is, a woman becomes trustworthy, not just to others but to herself. To live in integrity is to live without fracture. To walk into any room without hiding a single part of who you are. And the woman who does that, she becomes irresistible not because she is perfect, but because she is real. Habit 6. She moves from self-worth, not self-doubt. The mature woman no longer asks, "Am I enough?" She knows she is, not because the world told her so, but because she stopped waiting for the world to decide. Her worth is no longer a conversation. It is an embodiment. It is not loud, but it is present. It is not flaunted, but it is unshakable. She does not seek confirmation. She walks in conviction. This woman has excavated herself from years of self-abandonment, from the hunger to be chosen, from the ache of rejection. And in the rubble, she found a truth that worth is not earned by being lovable to others. It is discovered by finally loving herself. Not the curated version, not the performative version, but the raw, imperfect, evolving self that stayed, even when she tried to run. She no longer competes, not because she doesn't see other women's beauty, but because she sees her own. And it is unique, it is sovereign. It does not need to be compared to be valid. Her compliments are generous because her confidence is rooted. She is not shaken by someone else's light. She knows there is room for all of it, including hers. When a man sees her, she no longer asks, "Will he stay?" She asks, "Does he align?" She does not chase potential. She does not confuse intensity with intimacy. She does not overfunction for love that underdelivers. Her love is no longer a service. It is a sacred offering. And if it is not honored, she withdraws it, not in punishment but in power. Her worth whispers where others scream. It lives in the way she carries herself, shoulders back, eyes soft, voice steady. It's in the way she doesn't beg to be understood, but chooses to be understood by herself. In the way she forgives without reopening the door. In the way she walks away, not to hurt, but to heal. Self-worth doesn't mean she never doubts. It means she no longer lets doubt make her decisions. It doesn't mean she's immune to pain. It means she knows pain is not a reflection of her value. When love leaves, she does not collapse. She blesses the exit. She holds the grief, and she rises without asking, "What did I do wrong?" Because sometimes the only wrong was staying too long. She no longer clings to those who do not choose her. Her energy is not available for almost maybes and half-loves. She is not interested in becoming the exception to someone's confusion. If someone cannot see her clearly, she does not step closer. She steps away. She does not audition for roles she did not ask to play. She writes her own script and stars in her own life. This woman is not desperate for love. She is a magnet for respect. She does not try to fix broken dynamics. She recognizes that not everything that hurts is hers to heal. And so she lets go with grace, with silence, with strength. The man who earns her heart does not need to be convinced. He is already certain. Because she is. She speaks her needs without apology. She no longer downplays what she desires to seem easy. She is not difficult. She is clear. She is not needy. She is aware. And the man who sees that as a burden is not ready for her depth. She would rather be alone, in truth, than accompanied in pretense. This kind of self-worth is not built overnight. It is forged in fire, in disappointment, in loneliness. In every moment, she chose to rise, instead of beg. In every boundary she held when her voice trembled. In every mirror she looked into when it would have been easier to look away. Her worth was not found. It was remembered. She does not fear aging. She sees it as initiation. She does not resent the lines on her face. She reads them like scripture. Every year added has refined her. She is no longer a woman becoming. She is a woman who has become, and that fullness, it is rare. It is intoxicating. To move from self-worth is to move without the noise, without the scramble, without the need to be proven right. It is to walk into love as a sovereign soul, not a starving one. And when a woman moves like this, she becomes unforgettable, not because she is everything, but because she no longer believes she must be. The woman who has integrated these habits does not become invincible. She becomes inviolable. There is a difference. She does not avoid pain. She no longer fears it. She does not dodge heartbreak. She no longer builds her identity around it. Her essence is not protected by distance, but by discernment. What once broke her now builds her. What once delayed her now defines her in strength. She walks through life with a grace that is not naive, but earned. She has cried in silence, where no one heard. She has been the woman who gave too much, who stayed too long, who forgot her own name just to be loved. But those versions of her are no longer in charge. They are held, honored, but not leading. She has become the mother to her own soul, and in that act of reparenting, she has finally come home. This woman does not explain her growth to those who only knew her before she bloomed. She no longer invites critique from those who benefit from her silence. She no longer offers softness where it will be weaponized. And yet, She is not cold. She is warm in the way sunlight is, steady, bright, life-giving, but impossible to grasp unless you are ready. Her love is rare because it is clean, not driven by control, not shaped by insecurity, not transactional. She gives because she chooses to, not because she is proving her worth. Her love does not demand. It reveals. It does not chase, it invites. And the one who receives it must be capable of standing next to it without fear. In solitude, she thrives. Not as a rejection of relationship, but as a celebration of self. She knows the difference between loneliness and sacred space. Her evenings are filled with ritual, her mornings with clarity. She speaks to God in stillness. She walks in nature to remember her rhythm. Her life is her sanctuary, and only those who bring peace are allowed to enter. Even when challenged, she remains anchored. She no longer reacts from wounds. She responds from wisdom. She does not fight for attention. She does not perform for closeness. If someone drifts, she lets them. If someone lies, she leaves them. She does not burn herself to keep others warm. She lights fires only where she is met with care. And her magnetism is not in how she looks, but in how she holds herself. In her posture, in her still eyes, in her measured voice. People feel her presence long after she has gone. Not because she tried to impress, but because she left a trace of truth. She is the kind of woman who, even in silence, teaches. The woman who is irresistible is not without flaw. She is not above insecurity. But she knows where her worth lives, and she returns to it again and again. When doubt arises, she listens, but does not obey. When fear whispers, she hears it, but does not submit. Her power is not in the absence of shadow, but in her intimacy with it. She has seen the archetypes within her, the maiden, the mother, the wild woman, the sage. She does not reject one in favor of the other. She lets them all speak. At different times they lead. And in honoring their rotation, she becomes vast. A woman of seasons, a woman of layers, a woman impossible to label. When others meet her, they are struck by something they cannot name. Some will envy her, others will fear her. But the rare few, they will recognize her, because she mirrors the parts of them still buried, and in doing so, she calls others to rise. Not by pushing, but by existing. She no longer seeks safety in compliance. She seeks it in clarity. Her nervous system is calm because her life is aligned. Her dreams are not survival-based. They are sacred. She no longer asks, "What will they think?" She asks, "Does this feel like truth?" And that question has saved her countless times. In love, she no longer settles. She no longer interprets neglect as a test she must pass. She knows that love is not earned by proving, but by choosing. And she will not stay where choosing her feels optional. Her love does not beg, it beckons. And if it is not met, it returns to her chest like a bird returning to its own nest, not broken but free. To become this woman is to grieve every version of yourself that believed crumbs were a feast, and to rise slowly, steadily into the embodiment of everything you were waiting for. She no longer builds her life around who might stay. She builds it around who she has become. The mature woman knows that no relationship, no title, no praise can offer the peace that inner coherence brings. When her thoughts, values, and actions align, she becomes luminous, not from effort, but from truth. That light cannot be dimmed, because it is not borrowed. It is hers. She releases what no longer mirrors her evolution. She lets go without creating villains. She parts ways without curses or chaos. Because letting go is not about winning. It's about preserving the sacred. She is not afraid of endings. She respects them. She has seen what clinging costs, and she has chosen liberation instead. Even in heartbreak, she holds herself with reverence. There is no longer a void she begs others to fill. Her emptiness became her altar. Her silence became her initiation. And in both, she found a source within that replaced the craving for external validation. Her worth no longer rises and falls with someone's attention. It remains unshaken. The woman who knows her value no longer negotiates with those who try to reduce her. Even as life challenges her, she does not collapse back into old patterns. When the world tests her, she slows down. She breathes. She remembers who she is. She does not react. She refines. Her discipline is not in rigidity, but in remembering her essence when forgetting would be easier. And that discipline gives her something rare, emotional freedom. She does not need to prove how strong she is. Her strength lives in her softness, in the way she loves deeply without losing herself, in the way she cries without shame, asks without fear, walks away without theatrics. She is not above emotion. She has simply learned to ride its waves without drowning. That is her power. When someone enters her life, she does not fear being too much. She does not dim her flame to be digestible. She lets herself be fully seen, knowing that those who are aligned will not be afraid. They will be ready. And those who are not, she releases them with love, not resentment. Her love is not a performance. It is a revelation. And only those who can hold that truth are invited to stay. She no longer hides her standards. She does not apologize for her non-negotiables. She has buried the people-pleaser and resurrected the woman who chooses herself. Her preferences are not up for debate. Her dreams are not up for dilution. She does not shrink, she expands. And in doing so, she makes others rise or retreat. She is not cruel. She is clear. And her clarity is a spiritual boundary. It filters out those who still thrive on confusion. It protects her from situations that echo old wounds. It allows her to move forward without dragging the past. She is not trying to relive a lesson. She is writing a new chapter, one that doesn't begin with pain. She is no longer afraid of being misunderstood. She does not waste her wisdom explaining herself to the unwilling. She is not here to be consumed. She is here to be experienced, and only those with the capacity to honor her energy are invited into her presence. This kind of woman does not chase, she chooses. And in choosing, she no longer waits to be seen. She sees herself. She no longer performs to be heard. She listens to herself. She no longer begs to be touched. She touches her own soul first. Her life is not one of lack, but of sacred abundance. Not because she has everything, but because she is everything she was seeking. She does not fear being alone. She fears abandoning herself again. And so, she stays, even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, even when it's unfamiliar. She stays true. She stays grounded. She stays home within herself. Her beauty is no longer skin deep. It is soul-rooted. It does not fade. It evolves. It is not defined by attention. It is refined by solitude, by truth, by choice. She is not irresistible because she was born that way. She is irresistible because she rebuilt herself that way. And so she rises, not for applause, not for approval, but for alignment, for peace, for power, for presence. She walks without hurry, speaks without fear, lives without apology. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.